Hello and welcome to TCS Digital Solutions EasyColorLabel video series. In this series of videos, we're going to show you a number of different tips and tricks for getting the most and best use of your color label printer, finishing equipment, and applicators. In today's episode, we're going to show you how to align the print to the label to achieve a full bleed. That's full color across the entire label with no white edges on the Epson C6000 series printers. This includes the C6000 and C6500. This is a simple process and only takes a few minutes to accomplish. Let's get started. The first step in the process is to make sure your graphic artist sets up the artboard to be the exact size of your label. In our case, that will be a 2" by 4". It's important to note that the industry standard is to always denote the width in the print direction first. In other words, the width across the roll of media. So our label is 2 inches across the roll and will feed out of the printer 4 inches long. This is true regardless of the final label orientation. For instance, today we'll be making a label that will wrap around a small spice container. So the label will be viewed landscape, but we will still refer to it as a 2 by 4 label. The Epson C6000 series has the accuracy to do full bleed labels with artwork the exact size of the label. However, if you want to give yourself some tolerance and make the process easier, you can add 0.01 inch to the overall dimensions of the label. So in our case, that would make our artboard 2.01 inches by 4.01 inches. We will set this up in Illustrator, or if you're using a different vector editing software, as well as in the driver. We don't recommend more than this, as the ink will not dry on the label liner. Too big, and you'll get ink on your hands and on your product when applying the label. Once we have the artwork file, we're going to open it in Acrobat Reader, the free version. This is typically the easiest for the operators to print from. When we click on the print icon, there are a few things we want to make sure that are set. We always want to make sure that this is set to actual size, not allowing Acrobat to scale or fit the image. We want it to be actual size because we set the artwork to be the actual size of the label. It is nearly impossible to remove all of the white edges if the image is scaled. The next thing you want to notice is the print preview area. When the artwork size is larger than the paper size, you'll be able to immediately notice it, as the artwork outside of the magenta line will be grayed out, showing what won't print. Or if there's extra white space around your label, then the label page size is too big. To adjust the paper size, we're going to click on the Printer Properties button. This will open the Epson Windows driver. This is where we're going to create the setting for the printer to know about our label. Size, label direction, media type, and print quality, for example. For our setup, we will use the custom setting from this list until we get the settings correct. Then we will save it with a name to easily recall it from the list in the future. Remember, the label width refers to the width of the media across the roll. In our case, it's 2.01 inches. The label length refers to the length in the feed in the print direction. In our case, it's 4.01 inches. The gap between labels setting refers to the physical gap between the labels in the feed direction. Notice as I change between the fields, the arrows corresponding to the setting turn red in the picture on the right. This will help you always know what setting you are working on. There are two types of alignment settings on the Epson C6000 series printers, gross and fine. The gross or large settings are made here in the driver. The fine settings are made in the paper setting tool, which we will open in a minute. But the important thing to note is that in the fine settings, the vertical adjustment, remember that's print direction, range is rather large, almost 22 millimeters or 7/8 of an inch. But the horizontal adjustment, or across the roll, is very small, only about 3 millimeters total, or just under 1/8 of an inch. So when making the gross adjustments, especially with the width, it's important to get as close as you can to having no white line and then do the final adjustments with the horizontal fine adjustment in the paper setting tool. The horizontal adjustment in the gross settings is made under the left and right gap. This setting adjusts for the width of the liner on either side of the label. Adjusting this will allow you to move the print left and right again until the white line is nearly gone. So set this up, print some labels, and let's see how close we are to being aligned. I always like to print 3 labels and then use the middle label for alignment purposes. It's important to keep the label in the orientation that it printed. This will help make sure your adjustments are in the correct direction. So looking at our label, you can see the white lines on the left side and bottom of the label. You can also see the excess ink on the liner. Remember, the ink on the liner takes a long time to dry, so try not to touch it when removing the label. We need to adjust the print position to align the label and remove the white lines. Looking at the ink on the liner can help you confirm whether you are printing a full bleed, as we will see at the end. The first thing we're going to do is to adjust the left and right gap to move the image to the left. Remember, we need to get as close as we can because we only have a small range, 3 millimeters, of fine adjustment in the width direction. Let's set the left and right gap to 0.08. Next, we're going to the printer setting tool to use the fine adjustment for the vertical positioning. This is a standalone program you can leave open during the various rounds of adjustment. You can open this from 2 places: the Start menu, the Epson folder, and then depending on your printer, either the C6000 or C6500 printer setting tool. However, the second way is much easier. Going back to the Epson driver, click on the 4th tab called Printer Utilities. Then click on the bottom icon, Printer Setting Utility. Since we are already working in the driver, this is the preferred method. Remember, this is a standalone app, so you don't need to reopen it each time. The app will communicate with the printer directly and may take a moment for the connection to be made. Note, the printer should be in an online mode with no errors. Any print jobs currently printing will be abandoned when you make changes or save settings, so make sure the printer is not printing when you use the printer setting utility. The printer setting tool basically allows you to make adjustments on the printer that you can make through the front panel. You can explore the various features, but in this video, we're going to focus on the first option, position adjustment, specifically the vertical direction and the horizontal direction. Because we are still trying to get close on the horizontal position, we are only going to focus on the vertical adjustment for now. Click on the vertical adjustment button and a window will open with some reminders of which value you need, positive or negative. The arrows depict the movement you need to move in, not the direction that's off. In our case, we have a white line at the bottom of our label in the print direction as it hangs out of the printer, so we need to add negative value. I'm going to start with negative 1.5 millimeters and see where we are. If you make an adjustment and it moves in the wrong direction, just come back and readjust in the opposite direction. Okay, let's save the settings and reprint. Okay, so our adjustments have gotten the print properly aligned. And looking at the liner, we can see equal amounts of ink on each side of where the label was. This confirms we have succeeded in the proper print alignment. If your label still needs adjustment, just continue to go back and make adjustments like we did before. Remember, when you get close by changing the left and right gap, then make superfine adjustments with the printer setting tool. For vertical adjustment, just make the changes in the printer setting tool. Once you have your settings correct, you should save the settings for this media. Go back to the Epson driver and click on the Media Definition button. Then click on the New button, give your size a name. I'll call it Rib Rub Label. Click OK, and now you can see the new label size here at the bottom of the list. In the future, you can just select from the drop-down list your new label size. That's it. Now you're ready for production. Print alignment on the Epson C6000 series printers is simple and easy. We're TCS Digital Solutions, and we're here to make sure you're successful with all your label printing needs. We can help you with printing, finishing, and application of your labels. We can even help you with the right label to make your product stand out. Check us out at www.tcsdigitalsolutions.com or call 678-824-2304 for all your labeling needs.